And I just want to give you a little background about her. So Maryl started her pro-life work as a mentor on Birthright Hotline in 1982 and became president. In 1988, she took an unknown pregnant teen in her home. She served as house mother at a Brooklyn home for pregnant women in 2002. Meryl also helped form Life Options Pregnancy Center in 2011. A year later, she became the director. And on the personal side, Meryl is the mother of 4 and has 6 grandchildren. Widowed in 1999, Meryl is now happily married to Maryl Turchi.
And so, did
I say that right?
Yeah, you did fine. Thank you.
And so we have the privilege of having Meryl come and talk to us today on how we as a church can become a little bit more active on pro-life.
Good. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Joan. I'm happy to be here, and we're kind of winging it, as you can see. I have a sign-up sheet, so if you want to get alerts about pro-life happenings or legislation in Albany or D.C., you can enter your name, that email address, and the phone number, and I'll put you in a group. If anything changes, we'll take you out if you request it. So this way you all have time to sign up rather than at the end. Okay. Speaking of pen and paper, I suggest that you maybe take out a pen and paper because I'm going to be sharing phone numbers with you. And you could also write down that question that pops into your mind. Write it down, and we'll have a question and answer period afterwards. All right. Good. Now, I went to church throughout my childhood, but my religion was kind of a Sunday thing. In my 30s, my faith became more real, and I realized that the children I was having were gifts from God. I'm highlighting some important pro-life points today. First, why is life sacred? Why, as believers, should we care about the unborn and the women in a crisis pregnancy? Well, where does life come from? Genesis 1:26 in the Bible says, God said, "Let us make man in our image." And in the New Testament, in John, it says, all things were made through him. So we know and we believe that God is the creator of life. This is a tenet in the Catholic Church, Protestant Church, and in Judaism. God is the creator. Or to put it another way, I'll share this poem. When love meets love, breast urge to breast, God interposes an unacknowledged guest and leaves the little children among our roses. We love, God makes. In our sweet mirth, God spies an occasion for a birth. Then is it his, or is it ours? I know not. He is fond of flowers. That was written over 100 years ago by Walter Brown. So each human being, no matter the circumstances of their conception, is valuable. Non-believers don't know that life comes from God. It says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. When I didn't know any better, I thought Planned Parenthood was providing good services, and I even sent them a donation. We need to share the truth that life is from God. We teach our children basic truths. We need to advise fellow women so they don't make mistakes. We have to let them know that abortion is killing a developing child. Do you know that a baby's heart is beating 18 to 22 days after conception? Before a woman goes through the full 28 days and might suspect she's pregnant, that baby's heart is already beating. I direct your attention to learn more facts like this on the booklets that I have at the table that are free for you to take. Now, conception is a miracle, but it's often not planned and not at the right time. For women who don't know that pregnancy is God designed, they think of it as a problem. Even married women are distressed with an unplanned pregnancy. When mentoring a nervous woman, I found if I ask her, if there were different circumstances, would you want a girl or a boy? Their whole face changes because they start to think of it as a baby and not a problem. It moves her from self-centeredness and panic to her future child, and it kind of stimulates those maternal feelings. Now, I first heard the word abort when a space launch was stopped. It was stopped after it began, and I realized that an abortion stopped the growth of a baby in the womb. When was abortion made legal?
1973.
Right, very good. 1973.
January.
21st, 22nd, 23rd. Yeah, it will be 49 years. And guess how many abortions that have taken place since that was made legal? An astronomical number.
It's approximately
Well,
$1 million a year, isn't it?
yeah, it's totaled 60 million over that 49-year period. Now, 60 million, to get your head around that number, if we were silent for every baby that died due to abortion, those 60 millions, we would be silent for 100 years. Yeah. Now, abortion is legal through what month of pregnancy? You're not going to believe it. Nobody does. All 9 months. Yes.
And after now.
Oh, I have some knowledgeable people here. Good.
Murder of an American citizen.
Yes.
Red Rose Rescue right here.
Oh, terrific. Nice to meet you. Those who choose abortion are like an animal caught in a trap that chooses to gnaw its paw off to get out of that trap. Abortion is an act of desperation. This brings me to the saying, my body, my choice. You have many choices before another human being is conceived. Half of those unborn children are women. Doesn't that little girl or that little boy that will be born 9 months from now have a right to its life, its body? Isn't it ironic that people who are for abortion call themselves pro-choice? They don't want the label. They don't want to be called pro-abortion. It's kind of an unacknowledged, unconscious acknowledgement of the horror of abortion. They want to be called a nice term, pro-choice. Maybe you were like me when you were younger, not living my faith. Maybe you advised somebody to get an abortion due to the circumstances she was in. Or maybe you gave her a ride to an abortion place. Or you considered an abortion or had one yourself. Many people who are active in pro-life have gone through abortions. It's legal, and people think it's therefore all right, with no consequences. Alcohol and cigarettes are legal, and we all know what harm they can do. We have all made bad decisions in our past. Regret and remorse may be still there. So the first number that I'm going to highlight is an organization for post-abortion counseling. There's so many women and men that realize years later, oh my gosh, what did I do when that unplanned pregnancy happened? And it's a toll-free number. It's a woman up in our area in New York, Teresa Bonapartis. So the number, which you could write down, is 877-777-1277. And I spoke to, but she wasn't able to come tonight, a woman who gives out her cell phone number for anybody in an unplanned pregnancy, married, single, or whatever. Her name's Rita O'Brien, and it's the Emmanuel House. So I would put this in my cell phone under pregnant. maybe you hear that your neighbor's daughter, thinks she might be pregnant, or she's 7 months pregnant and she needs a crib, she needs a car seat. Emmanuel House will respond to their need or refer that caller to a place close by. And that number, as you can see, is 914-393. I am. Yes, this is Sisters of Life. Thank you for your help. Yeah, the Sisters of Life they have a place in Suffern for the nuns, but they're very big in the 5 boroughs. So the right number of Emmanuel House, Rita's cell phone number, 914-393-7208. I mean, if you hear of a woman in a bad situation, everybody kind of networks. So even if it's not involving an expected baby, give her a call if a woman needs help.
What was her first name?
Rita. Rita O'Brien at Emmanuel House. Okay.
Number right there.
What's that number? That's a different number that you read off.
What's that number that you're holding up right now?
Oh, this is Emmanuel House, and it's in Carmel.
What's the one that's post-abortion?
Post-abortion is Lumina, 877-777-1277.
That was the Sisters
And is
of
that the
Life.
Sisters of
That's Sisters of Life. Oh, Lumina.
What is it called?
The Sisters of Life help in a pregnancy situation or if a baby needs equipment and such. The Lumina for the post-abortion, and save this because maybe in talking somebody will say, 20 years ago I made this mistake and I need to talk to somebody about it. This is what Lumina is designed for.
So what's that number now?
877-586-4621.
4621.
4621.
Yeah, that's the number for post-abortion.
Good. Now, I have other pregnancy centers. I looked them up in this area for you to take fact sheets. There's 20 of them here. So maybe if Melody takes one, if you don't get one tonight, you could make more copies.
I could scan it and send it to everyone.
Yes, good idea. And that has Lumina, the post-abortion counseling, the Sisters of Life, and the pregnancy center I'm highlighting on it, okay? I'm so glad to hear that you're doing the tree.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. It was the Holy Spirit. It was all at once.
Uh-huh.
We had the tree put up. Where's Tina?
Here I am.
We put the tree up. It was
Yeah.
down here. All the lights worked. I was the lector. I was in the sacristy, and I came out, and all the tags were on the tree. That was
Wonderful, good. So someone can take a tag and buy for a child or a woman.
Give it back to come back here, just put it right next to the tree, and then they flip over the...
Oh, good. That's wonderful. Good. Now, what can you do to counteract our pro-life, our pro-abortion culture? Most important weapon is prayer, right? Search your thoughts and feelings in prayer and let God reveal His heart to you. Reflect on Psalm 139. There's a lot of pro-life verses, but that is specifically about being formed in secret. Pray for women in crisis pregnancies. It's a time of great turmoil for them, and also for women who have had abortions and now regret that choice. They suffer in many ways. Pray for those on the front line of this battle. We often feel like David facing Goliath. The liberal media is pro-abortion, but the majority of Americans, over 60%, are pro-life. Influence your friends. Talk about how precious life is. Someone's having a baby, how exciting, or the family's going on. Talk with people you work with, your social circle. Be an ambassador. Don't hide your light under a bushel. If a woman says, a woman has a right to her own body, you could say, what about the baby's right? Isn't it human too? Or if she says, I would never have an abortion, but it's good that it's legal, you could counter with, why do you say that? What's good about it? Did you notice that I posed questions? It provokes thought and discussion. You could always stay neutral and just keep asking somebody to pull out why they believe as they do. You may not feel comfortable declaring pro-life positions, but you can ask questions. Read and research online. Educate yourself on this issue. Another thing to do is to vote for pro-life candidates. We had good success the last election in November in bringing in more good conservative pro-life people. Write your representatives. When an important bill comes up in Albany or DC, we spread the word through our network online, and I'm passing around a pad and a pen for you to put your name, clearly write your email address, and we will send out alerts when things come up. Continue to support pro-life organizations, as you're doing with Sisters of Life, by volunteering and donating. Now, anybody have any questions or comments? You already sprung him. Come on, be the second one.
What if you hear a lot of
Hi.
young people say, you know, what about in the case of a rape or if their life was in danger? You know,
Right, okay.
what's the
Rape
answer?
is only 1% for the reason given that women have abortions. So 1%, 99% are for other reasons. Rape is a terrible, violent intrusion. Having an abortion doesn't erase that violent act. In fact, it's a second violent intrusion on the woman's body. I know of a girl I spoke to, I didn't know her face-to-face on the phone. Because she had been raped and got pregnant, she was able to get out of her apartment where there were drugs going on and raise her child. That was a result of rape. God designed our bodies that if there is violence like a rape, even if it's your time that you could get pregnant, most women don't. But it does happen infrequently. So.
Or if the mom's life was in danger, you know, what about that? Like, you know, I'm sure you've all heard people asking about that.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Well, there's a organization in Manhattan that's with the Archdiocese, Gianna Center, and they deal with pregnancies that are life-threatening to the mother, or that the child's been diagnosed with some deformity, or with like Gianna Center. G like in George, I-A-N-A. I don't have their number off the top of my head, but you could give it. It is in New York City.
Okay.
But good question, yeah.
And that's with the Archdiocese. So
Yes.
So that focuses on somebody who has high-risk pregnancies and...
Right. Or a bad diagnosis like the regular gynecologist or obstetrician says, you can't go through with this pregnancy, I advise an abortion. If you go to Gianna Center, they'll do everything they can to keep you healthy and your child born healthy.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Someone else?
Just, what do other parishes do to, you know, help get the word out for pro-life? Like, yes, we have our rosary in the morning and we pray for that, and, you know, all of us are women of prayer. But are there any different types of programs or anything that we can do as a parish to...
Well, because you're so far from my area, I would suggest you calling the different Price's pregnancy centers on the fact sheet.
Okay, that's the way.
Okay?
Okay.
And ask them what can we do. But supporting them with things for the mothers and the babies at Christmas time. But they need supplies. You could have a diaper drive. St. Margaret's down in Crotona Avenue has a diaper drive every Mother's Day. you know? You know? Yeah.
And we used to give to Emmanuel House.
Ah, good, yes.
We brought things over there for the
Sometimes they have a baby shower. Again, right. Clothing for the children?
The children, the babies.
Right, right.
And, yeah, it was not just clothing, it was anything a baby needed.
Uh-huh. That's another, and do things, every year. It builds momentum. People say, oh,
Are you gonna do that again? Or
yeah. And donating, when the children are starting to go to kindergarten, you could donate the crib and the stroller and the car seat and like that. Gently used items, pregnancy centers are very happy to get, and they get used again. So it's a double blessing to give, and the one that needs gets.
So how do we keep 1.5 million women from getting themselves into the position of being pregnant when they don't want to be pregnant, they should be pregnant? So Planned Parenthood, we know you don't like because of the abortion side of it, but don't they also have the side where they provide?
They have some,
Educational at least? Or
they have some services. I want to substantiate what I want to say with facts. Because abortion is so profit-making, it's like $300, and it takes, in the beginning, just a few minutes by dilation and suction to take the baby out of the womb. So they're a profit-making organization, so they don't make much money from doing a breast exam, a sonogram.
But that's all part of what they do?
They do some, but because there's more money in abortion, and they're going to go where the money is.
Do they provide birth control to women?
They do that too. Right. But if our children feel loved, they won't be looking for love in a stranger's arm as teenagers. So when you said, what can we do? I wanted to say, give them a hug. And to have pride about your body, especially girls have such low self-esteem that they feel like they have to have a boyfriend to be confident. It's a very involved social issue, the question that you asked.
No, it's not an easy fit.
Yeah.
There's more to just what we're talking about.
Right. I mean, if the parents don't care to give a curfew, then the girl doesn't have to get home and the boy doesn't have to get home by a certain time. I mean, just parenting things that a lot of families don't do these days because mom's working, dad's working.
But the sad thing is when you look at the numbers of the age groups and the percentages, it's not so much
The teenagers.
16 years old. We're really talking about women that are, I think the highest number of abortions happens with women in their 30s. Or 20,
It's actually between 20 and 25.
20 or 25?
Right. There's a wealth of information, but you brought up a good point. Yeah, the woman that graduated college or the woman that started her career at 18 is just starting to go up that line in promotions, and they're forming relationships. And because our society, at every movie you see, they go to bed on the first date, right? So this is what our society permits. So the women in their 20s are the highest number of abortions. They're either self-supporting or they're career-minded. They're not living with their mother and father. They already got, so that they need help. And the Sisters of Life, Emmanuel House, Pregnancy Care in Poughkeepsie and Peekskill, the Catholic Church says, we will pay your rent. If that's the issue that you want to get an abortion because you're self-supporting, we will pay your rent. There is help in all sorts of situations. Any other comment or question?
The men in the situation, they don't even have to know.
No, and they have no rights. If the woman wants an abortion and the father of the child says, don't do it, I'll take the baby, she can still have the abortion. He has no rights. It's that's that woman-centered, my body.
No.
Because a man is held responsible
For child support, right? We've gone a far way from where we started as a country, right? But maybe things will be changing in June. The Supreme Court had a big case December 1st. Dobbs versus the state of Mississippi. Yeah. And there's talk, there were arguments given, but it seems like a lot of the judges are kind of saying, hey, what are we doing here? And they want to give it back to the states' rights. Unfortunately, New York is very liberal, but so I'm going to hand out the fact sheets, okay?
Thank you so very much.